Hey guys, what's going on? Welcome to another video and hope you guys are doing well today. First of all, I apologise I haven't got my camera on. I'm really not feeling particularly well. I wanted to get this video recorded just before I go to bed because we have discovered some things. But first of all, just to let you know how our beta testing went, we cleared 7 bosses on Heroic in 10-man. We did this in a combination of like 5 or I think we did 6 bosses in like full pre-raid BIS gear, no raid gear at all. We weren't equipping items that we looted. And then we kind of went through tonight and just re-cleared the bosses just to make sure we're comfortable with the first couple of bosses. We went through in 359 gear just to make it a bit quicker and easier and whatever. I'd actually say it didn't make it much easier. We played much worse for the extra gear that we had. But yeah, so we got to 7 out of 13 total. I'm confident that we could do that night 1 of raid release, and that would be my goal currently. And then we'll obviously progress and pursue the other bosses as we go. But we have a bit of a plan. But we discovered something tonight, and actually it was Scott that discovered it, so thanks to him. And I think it was a viewer that even mentioned it to Scott. When the raids were released, they were released at 4.0 in terms of the patch cycle, right? Now, during that, they were released, and that is their complete pre-nerf state. Now, something very important happened at 4.1 and at 4.2. At 4.1, which is the Rise of the Zandalari patch, that's the catch-up patch of the first phase, they were nerfed, but not in terms of things like percentage health or damage, or even reducing the damage of abilities. In fact, they were nerfed very, very minorly in terms of mechanics. So to give you some examples of things, and I will link the thing that I'm looking at in the description so you guys can see the patch notes and all that sort of stuff. But things like Atramedes, Searing Flame now causes 6-second cooldown on modulation, so you can't get both back to back. Players are now no longer able to avoid the first period damage tick of Searing Flame, so obviously a buff to the boss. You know, there's a couple of different things. The Barlatron on Chimeron is now resistant to being knocked offline many times in rapid succession, so you can't get multiple feuds in a row. There is actually an internal cooldown there. Magmor now triggers a raid emote when spawning lava parasites. There's a load of different things where different bosses throughout were mechanically nerfed, but in terms of number tuning, they were actually very similar. Now in 4.2 then, if I go to there, to give you some examples of what the 4.2 nerfs were, which is like the Firelands patch, you had things like Cho'Gall being nerfed. He had his health, melee damage, health of his adds, depravity damage, corrupting crash damage, flaming destruction damage, unleashed shadows damage, all reduced by 20%. You know, you had different mechanics on top of that that reduced further. The Dragon Twins, which is a boss that we've been progressing on in the last couple of days, had pretty much every single mechanic on the fight reduced by 20%. Now, when people talk about pre-nerf and post-nerf, they tend to mean either the 4.0 state or the 4.2 state. What we actually have on beta currently is the 4.1 state. This is where we have, you know, difficult bosses in terms of health and healing and damage and all that sort of stuff, but we have slightly, you know, quality of life mechanic changes. So, in terms of what people have been asking for, we kind of do have the middle ground, but I feel like it's the middle ground that no one wanted. You know, we've got the harder bosses in terms of just raw numbers, but the quality of life of the first one. And it's really interesting that Blizzard don't seem to have either acknowledged this or even actually know that it exists. You know, currently, Blizzard have said nothing. In fact, they've actually specifically said that the raids are in a post-nerf state, which technically is true, but not all the way. So, the main reason for me recording this is actually because I'm really interested to know what you guys think about this. It's a kind of new development in the story in general. Overall, I think, you know, the bosses are hard. 10-man is... I've done 25-man, I did a couple of heroic bosses, and I did 10-man. 10-man is much, much harder, and that's not just because I'm focusing on 10-man and I want to big myself up. Generally, go and try the difference between the two. 25-man, you get 25 good people, you are going to stomp through different mechanics. In fact, some of the mechanics are exactly the same amount of things on 10 and 25, but obviously on 25 you have a lot more people to handle them. So, yeah, generally, I think it's Going to be quite interesting. I don't think we're going to see any changes to this now, but we are actually kind of getting pre-nerf bosses because they haven't received like the major health overviews and nerf that we kind of thought they had. We've tested this tonight and guaranteed like the dragons were released at their, they have like, I think it's like 49 million health, which is what they were released with in 4.0. And that's quite an easy boss to test because the health was reduced by 20% in 4.2. So rather than me keep talking, let me know what you guys think about this. In terms of our raid prep, I'm really happy for, we've got a couple of people that have never played Kata or not played Kata since it first came out. Really happy with how we got on. I think we'll go through and smash it on live. If you've guys done any beta testing, let me know how you got on. Other than that, thank you guys for watching. More videos coming soon. Peace.